I don't know. I don't think it fits you very well. Scott
My
Hicks.
wife hates it.
I started getting this beard at 16. You kidding me?
I'm over 40 and I still can't if I want to. So.
Is it patchy? Is that what the problem is?
You know what? I might be able to now. It gets about that long and I'm just like
Itchy.
Oh, you gotta, you gotta get through that.
Yeah.
Also,
And my
you
wife
gotta
doesn't
oil
like
it.
So.
You gotta. No, she will. Just grow it out and say, "Oh, great! You'll get used to it. It'll be great."
Yeah.
You gotta oil it. You gotta slather it in oil. That's the only thing that keeps it from itching.
It
Otherwise,
comes in dripping.
yeah,
What is that on your beard, David?
it's gotta be shiny.
Oh.
Otherwise, it gets
Matt won't do.
Otherwise it does get itchy. It gets unbearable, especially like around the neck and stuff like that. Like, no. Tea tree oil. It's a whole bunch of different kinds.
Yeah.
So now you know.
Now everyone knows.
Probably not.
I mean, look, if you don't have one by ASTE, it's going to be a real problem, bro.
Listen, I can let it go till then, and it still isn't going to look like one yet. Yeah. It just doesn't grow like that.
It is only 2 weeks away, so I guess that's just the thing. Scott Hicks, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Very good. So
You've
one of the
gotten
main
much better at introducing our guests. I appreciate that. I do. I just wanted to throw some words of affirmation your way. Or what's the love language? Hold on.
Ask Monique.
That's why she named it specifically. I just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly.
Yes, you're saying it correctly.
Is it? Yeah, words of affirmation. I just wanted to throw some words of affirmation your way.
I wonder if, I'm pretty sure we made it pretty clear to Monique that you aren't a words of affirmation kind of guy. You're not any kind of guy, right? Like, we just know that by now. So, I don't really know what to do about this, but that was very sweet of her. I thought it was very nice.
We're talking about my words of affirmation. What about my words of affirmation to you? Thank you for introducing our guests properly. Or at all.
Sir. You're
except for Jeff.
Welcome.
Poor Jeff didn't get anything. We just
but everybody knows who Jeff
that.
is.
Do they?
I think everybody knows who Jeff is.
Jeff Barnes?
Maybe.
No.
See,
Jeff
there you go.
Hampton.
There you go.
Which Jeff? Which Jeff? There's a lot of Jeffs.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jeffs. Exactly.
He's in the chat group with him. We talk all day, every day. And all of a sudden he doesn't know Jeff.
Oh. You know how many Jeffs I know? You know how many Jeffs have been on your show?
There's like millions of Jeffs out there. And I guess we just had a
Don't
random
even know
one.
which Jeff it is.
I didn't.
Scott Hicks, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm busy, but I'm doing great.
So the last, 6 months, year of your life has been a little hectic, been a little crazy, had a lot of changes, a lot of shifts, a lot of things happen. How about give us a little bit of backstory about where we were and how we got to here? Because there's some interesting parts of this story that I think are important for us to talk about. You're a technician, right?
I am.
Very good. So tell us the story and tell us how we ended up here.
If you go back about a year, I was at a independent European shop that I'd been with a couple of different times, but totaling about 11 years.
Okay.
And, just got to a point where we no longer saw eye to eye.
Is that anyone we know?
No. I just don't believe in talking bad about,
Of course. Yeah.
Ooh.
So,
this is not about...
we have juicy details here.
Well, there's all kinds of details, right? But let's face it, there's three sides to every story, right?
Yep.
Your side, my side, and the truth. And I can try to be as objective as I want, but at the end of the day, it's still my side. So I'm going to want to favor in my side.
Yeah,
and
of course. And we had some really and that's not where the podcast is supposed to be going, right? So
right.
We're going to
the
have to go
juicy
that direction.
details.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm not privy to this.
I'll throw in one juicy detail, and that is that.
Hold on. Let's rewind here a little bit. Let's talk about this premise that there are three sides to every story. That is not true.
Yeah.
Okay, that is not true. There are
How many sides are there?
There are sometimes two perspectives, not a side. There's the truth, and either you can acknowledge the truth or you're delusional.
Yeah.
And decide not to acknowledge what happened. Here's what you do to combat that is you steelman your argument or you steelman your side. And you try to understand the other person's perspective first, right? So what do we talk about? Seek first to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that person act in that manner towards me? And then how did I react?
Here, right? That's Scott. We had some really hard conversations. We came back.
You and your hard conversations. Do you know how often you allude to these hard conversations or these great heart-to-hearts, and then you never talk about them? You're like, hey, we had some really great in-depth conversations. I cried, you cried, we cried together. Moving
David,
on.
You never cried.
Lucas, you mean just text you?
Is dead.
You mean just text you, Lucas, so we can talk?
Yeah, we could
kidding.
just text and get on past with this. You know, I mean,
I'm just trying to hash this stuff out because what ends up happening is he ends up talking about
keeps talking, so we can't even get there.
Well, I just want to make sure we set the groundwork. That's all I'm trying to do.
Okay, so here's the deal: is Scott and I had some conversations, and Scott was really frustrated because there was a time when things were not going well in the shop. And it was clear that Scott wasn't going to be there anymore, right? Is it safe to say that? I'm not trying to hurt any feelings.
No, absolutely.
And so there came a time when they said, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. And Scott was kind of like blindsided by it, right? And so
that I wasn't even at that shop yet.
Oh, okay. Okay,
no, was that.
Keep going then.
Yeah, well,
that's where I thought we were starting.
No. Well, that's... So I left there and went to another shop, right? And
you left the Euro shop.
I left the Euro shop and went to...
You've been at for on and off for 11 years.
Yeah, 11, 12, something like that. But yeah.
You're choosing or they're choosing?
I made the choice to leave.
Okay. Were they blindsided?
I mean, ultimately in me walking out, yes.
Ooh, you walked out. No notice.
Well, so this shop doesn't believe in notices, and again, working this long, I've seen more employees go through here than I probably have at every other shop together.
The Euro shop?
Worked at. Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
So turnover is incredibly high here.
Are you in Minnesota by chance?
No. North Carolina.
Okay. You're such an ass, David.
What? I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking. I just want to get proper context. I'm just getting proper context. Anyway. Okay.
Yep.
Continue.
Yeah, sure. So you
go to this other shop.
Go to the other shop. Okay. And I think ultimately, looking back on it, now this is where I was kind of blindsided. There was no communication as to anything going wrong. Yeah. Ever an opportunity to, hey, let's change this or change that, or why did this happen? Zero. I came back from lunch, which I normally didn't take. And, well, I say I didn't take. They provided lunch, usually, and we just stayed, ate, and it worked. This day I needed to take lunch because my wife had a flat tire. So it's either me leave and go get the kids, or I go take care of a flat tire on lunch, and she goes to get them. So I went, and literally as I'm walking back into the shop, the owner's outside, and he's like, hey, we need to talk. And I said, okay, what's up? He said, I'm going to have to let you go. And I said, okay, seriously, what's up? He said, no, I'm serious. I'm going to have to let you go. Oh, okay. Can you give me something? So, again, I know we're trying to get somewhere else here. So, but yeah,
I want to dwell on this.
I know you do. I'm well aware.
This is an owner that has fired a lot of people. That conversation is not something you have when the guy gets back from lunch. It's just not. Unless you do this all the time. You do this all the time, and it's like, hey, I got to tie my shoe. Hey, I got to fire this guy, this family man who has to feed this family, and I don't care. Hey, you got to go.
I don't know.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
This guy's fired somebody often.
Okay.
So I need to know his name. We need to have a talk. I'm just telling you, I got to get better at this because I'm terrible at firing people in that I don't.
David's been trying for months to fire himself, and he's still
Hang on. Where's that honey bun?
I know, right? It's got some mold on it, but at this point, anything will do.
Terrible at it. Anyway, sorry. So he blindsided you. You thought things were cool.
Yeah, I had no idea that there was a problem. Ultimately,
do you think maybe he was broke? Maybe it was a money issue? Like, hey, I can't pay this guy.
I don't think so. I don't believe so. I believe that the only real solid thing that I've gotten was that I don't think you're a good fit here. Like, that's the one solid piece of information that I've gotten. And,
okay,
there was a couple
Were you
of
not
things
getting along with the other employees?
As far as I knew, we were all getting along. I had no issues that anyone had brought aware to me. I mean, we all talked. We were all friendly, and so it was a complete shock. Do I think I ultimately had? So, and here's the thing that Luke has really helped me to remember or to realize. I'll say was that when I left that European shop, things had been festering for a long, long time. They've been building up, and I didn't communicate my concerns, and they're not the best at communicating. And so I left there with a lot of anger, basically, a lot of frustration. And could that have carried over? Yeah, I'm sure it did some. Did I see it? I think I saw a little bit of it, and I definitely tried to stop it when I started doing it. Like, I would have having thoughts like, when something were to happen in the shop, I'd be like, oh, great, here we go again. And I'm like, wait, no, this isn't the same people. This isn't the same owners. It's not the same, I can't think that way. And so I kept trying to pull myself out of that. And I thought I was doing a decent job. But, the thing that Lucas and I had talked about was, honestly, forget whether or not it's true that, whatever happened could it have been true? If it were true, what could you have done differently? So to learn from it. So it's not about, did I do all these things or something? It's more of, did I come into this shop, and could it have been where I came in as a toxic employee because I had all this baggage with me? Mm-hmm. And I don't, again, do I think I did some? Probably, yeah. I mean, I could definitely see where that could have happened. I was trying my best not to, but again, I don't know. So I accept the fact that, okay, that's the case. Let's just accept that I brought that baggage with me, and that's what ultimately caused the issues. And so from that, I really sat down and started thinking about what I could do differently.
This is interesting to me. I think people need to abandon the idea that there's anything such as a toxic employee. There's toxic behaviors, right? A person comes in, they exhibit toxic behaviors. It tends to make people uncomfortable. So they approach you, they're like, hey, I know you don't like working on Land Rovers, but I need you to do this work on a Land Rover. Now, your reaction is either, hey, no problem. God, again. Yeah, exactly. And so the first time, you have to blow it off. But the second or third or fourth or fifth or 10th or whatever time they come to you, and they feel anxiety having to approach you to do anything. And I'm just throwing Land Rover out there because it bothered that one guy that one time. But you could be any kind of work. Hey, I need you to scrub the floors. Hey, I need you to go move cars. Hey, I need you to go throw anything out there. And you react in a negative manner. All of a sudden, especially if you're non-confrontational, that conversation is going to be one you avoid. And if you start avoiding that conversation, now that employee is someone you can't even communicate with, they're just going to avoid it entirely. And that then festers into, we got to let this person go. Does that make sense?
It stacks.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The emotion stacks. And
so I wonder what, sorry, Lucas, I keep cutting you off. I apologize.
No, you don't.
Mildly.
He apologizes, but he's not going to stop doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
No. That's like telling me to stop being me. Like, hey, quit being bald. That's not going to be a thing. I can't stop being bald. I wonder at one point, did you realize that, was it after you had done it? So you were saying that, thinking back, I might have been exhibiting some toxic behaviors. Did you realize they had happened right after they had happened? In other words, the person brings you a 5:15 oil change when you're supposed to leave at 5:30. And now you have to inspect this car and do an oil change and maybe a state inspection or whatever in 15 minutes, or stay over because the person's waiting in the lobby. And you don't like that. It bothers you, right? They come to you, you react in a negative manner. Is this like 2 weeks later, you're like, I probably shouldn't have flipped my lid or cussed or, reacted the way I did? Or did you react negatively and then afterwards go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that, or I got to get myself to stop doing that?
I'm pretty aware of I say pretty aware. Well, I guess that's relative, but I feel like I'm fairly aware of how I respond and how I react to things. And I'm usually pretty good. And I think even then I was good about fairly quickly, knowing that that wasn't right. Even if, and stuff like that usually really I hold on to, like I can't let go of it. So even like I'm always drawn to going up and just saying, hey, listen, I'm sorry. Like it's regardless of the situation, I'm sorry that it came out the way it did. I'm not trying to have, and I've always been pretty good about that with anybody I work with employers. So, I mean,
from my perspective, and I've got to throw this in right here real quick, because from my perspective, when all this was going on, right, because we have a chat group and we're going back and forth in our chat group, and I'm watching, before this happened, I'm watching some of the things you're saying and some of the thoughts that you're having. And what I caught from the outside looking in is you were questioning them, right? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this way? Why is this not being done that way? And I had been picking up on that prior to this happening, right? Is that you were questioning, well, why are we testing this that way? I think we should be doing this. And he would say, no, I want to do this. And you'd say, well, but here's the way we're supposed to do this, or here's how I think we should do it, right?
Yeah, no.
And so when I was watching from the outside in, thinking, oh man, we might be headed for a nasty breakup here at some point, like, because I could feel it getting amped up. I could feel you going up a notch, and it would seem that if you were going up a notch, then from the outside looking in, it looked like they went up a notch, and it continued to stair step and got more and more emotional. I don't think you realized that it was happening like that. I think you had kind of got used to the situation. You were nose blind to it, if you will.
And you know what? And that's the thing. The things that I am aware of and that I become aware of very quickly, I always try to handle. But there's always, you don't know what you don't know, right? So if I didn't realize it was happening, then absolutely. I mean, those are the things that I've kind of looked back on, and I think it's difficult for me to remember like specific times where I'm saying anything to them or bringing certain things up. I mean, I did ask certain questions, and why are we doing this? Why do we use this? Why do we do it that way?
Right.
But I don't remember where it was much of an altercation between anybody.
Right.
But again,
right.
I'm not. Again, I'm biased to it, right?
What was it that when they asked you to do something and you start to question it? Was it from a place of lack of knowledge? In other words, if they're like, if they come to you and they're like, "Hey, we need you to test this sensor, get the voltmeter out. I need the voltmeter reading," and you're a lab scope guy, and you're like, "Hey, I can just hook up the lab scope, get a quick capture, and I can have this thing tested in 5 minutes." You're wanting me to write all this stuff out on a sheet off a voltmeter. It'll be much faster for me to do a lab scope. Was it something like that, or was it like, I don't even know how to use this piece of equipment, and they're asking me to use this piece of equipment? Or can you kind of like elaborate?
Sure.
And the reason why I'm asking you this is I have this working theory that an employee will walk into a situation and they are willing to do certain things. They have a list of tasks, unconsciously, consciously, whatever. They have a list of tasks that they're willing to do and how to do them. And if what the employer wants and what the employee is willing to do jives, then everything's copacetic. Everybody's happy, great employee, they're there for 30 plus years. If all of a sudden the employer changes what it is that they need done, and it is not within what that employee is comfortable doing, either the employee changes or the employer ends up firing them, or the employee quits. Like something comes to a head 100% of the time. And it's because all of a sudden you change the rules of the game. The employer. They came to the employee and they said, "Hey, These are now the rules. And that's not what we agreed to, even though there might not be an agreement. Like, at the end of the day, hey, I'm paying you to do whatever it is I ask you to do. Just do it. Or don't take the paycheck. It can't be both ways, right?
Right.
But what ends up happening is that employee sees that, and they make the decision. They're like, I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to fight you to not do this, and we're going to see if you acquiesce. If you don't acquiesce, then either I'm going to quit or you're going to end up firing me. Or maybe I do change my ways, but a lot of times that's not what happens. They don't acquiesce. The employee doesn't change and the employer doesn't acquiesce. But if you're non-confrontational like I am, sometimes you do acquiesce. You change the rules. They don't conform to the rules. And I'm not saying this is just a me thing. Like I went through a class with an old consultant company. The entire class, the entire premise of the class was how to get compliance. That was it. That was the whole class. We spent 2 days talking about how to get an employee to do what you ask them to do. But really what it comes down to is you change the rules, you change the parameters by which they do their job. They may not want to change that. And that's what ends up happening is that I'm not going to change. I want to do the job that I've been doing for what you've been paying me. And all of a sudden you're coming in and saying, hey, now we have to do DVIs. Or now, hey, we have to just start doing this extra thing. Or, hey, we have to start, filling out these sheets. And the employee's like, I'm not signing up for this. It's not what I want to do. So either you're going to stop making me do this, or you're going to end up having to fire me because I'm not going to do it. And they may not consciously be saying that, but in their actions, in other words, like deep down, internally, that's the dialogue, and that's what they end up reflecting. So I'm just curious, what was it that they were asking you to do that you were then having to step back and question?
So there was, I guess, honestly, on multiple fronts. One, I'll say some of the fluids that would go into vehicles were not what the OEM was recommending. Yeah. It not even what's a common practice in my opinion anymore. And I have a hard time with putting something there I know is not correct.
So we're talking every car gets old school green coolant? Even Euro trash gets old school green coolant? Or are we talking about like, hey, this is universal coolant, just throw that in the car, it'll be fine?
I'm hesitant again because again, I'm not trying to. The last thing I'm trying to do is start issues because that's not.
Yeah. I don't think it's throwing shade by any means, right?
Oh, no. Just if they're doing what they're doing. They don't see anything wrong with it. So you calling it out is a matter of your opinion. You think it's wrong, but they don't care. They're like, yeah, that's what we do.
I mean, green coolant was what went in everything.
Nice. Old school green coolant.
David's like, hey, listen, that sounds like a great piece of advice for me.
$3.99 a gallon
from now on.
Mix it with tap water. Did they mix it with tap water or did they buy it pre-diluted?
Oh, no, we mix with tap water.
Yes! Yes! That is awesome. Hey, this is going to be super helpful. I'm just telling you, Scott, you're going to help so many technicians. There was an entire question in the podcast group about, hey, what should I be asking employers when I walk in there to interview? I should be asking specific questions. And it's
we can do a whole podcast on that. Probably a few.
Hey, that's a good idea. We're gonna have a whole series. But seriously, one question is, hey, what's your opinion on coolant? Well, every car gets the correct coolant, or are we just dumping green with tap water? And they're like, hey, it's green with tap water and everything. It's like, okay, an Audi, a specific one of those in between years that doesn't use what all the other years use. Like I don't remember the formula, but it was like 7 years that they used this very weird mixture of coolant. And if you put the wrong stuff in it, causes all sorts of leaks. That car, you put in green coolant in it, and they go, yeah, every car gets green coolant.
So green coolant is what was there in bulk. And they had a few Asian brand generic colors of fluids. And I'm not 100% sure what those were supposed to go in. To be 100% honest. So green coolant was
hybrid inverters. Hybrid inverters. Green coolant?
I didn't do any hybrid inverters. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes.
Oil was typically correct. So I'm not, it was it always what it should have been? The weight might not have been quite right, but
close enough.
Honestly, that was not near as big of an issue for me because again, we were trying to do the right things, and that was that. And a lot of times you can switch up between some viscosities, so that's fine.
Hey, it's Friday afternoon, and that car is going to get 525 because guess what? We're out of this, and we got a little bit of that, and it's going to get a little mix. And that car's got to go.
So that's obviously one side of it.
Okay.
I don't agree with green coolant and everything. I don't agree with green coolant in almost anything unless it's old, and that's what it calls
Ford F-150. Yeah.
Okay, then right. But you also need to exchange that every 20,000 miles. Like it's it doesn't last. It gets acidic very quickly. So again, being that I teach for CTI, we have a 4-hour class on coolant. I mean, I know more about coolant than I want to know.
Were you teaching for CTI while working at the shop?
They knew before I took the job that I was already planning on going through and starting to teach for them. And they asked, when. And at that time, it was, I'm staying in the shop. I'm going to do virtual classes in the evenings. Anything else I'll do would be on a weekend or something. So, and they're like, okay, no problem. And that had not changed up until,
that
hey,
was
we're going to have to let you go.
Same time, right? Like,
they said, we're going to have to let you go. And then I sat around for the rest of the weekend, decided what I was going to do. And that's when I decided to go full-time teaching. But we're not done with that yet.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, there's
jumping all over the place.
Well, no, because you specifically brought up two different things. One, green coolant. Yes, okay. You also brought up, so it got to a point where I didn't feel comfortable pulling out a scope. And yes, I have several scopes, but I use scopes. Now, do I always do a scope? No, of course not. If it needs to be used, it needs to be used. And there's some things
That's a good point, Scott. You should repeat that. A scope is not always necessary for diagnosing the car.
Scope all the things.
Dang it! I knew it.
In the name of science. Not on a production basis. On a production basis, it's absolutely not necessary and should not be done.
Yeah.
If you got a scan tool out and you're scanning the vehicle, sit in the driver's seat, what can you find out from that scan tool? Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But no, so if I brought it out, it's like, what do you got the scope out for? I'm testing this, whatever it is, and you don't need that for that. I understand I probably don't need it, but I can get a definitive answer really quickly this way.
Did you have a shop foreman?
No.
This was the owner then walking out and asking you this?
Yes.
From the outside looking in perspective, it felt almost as if we were dealing with a owner who was a technician who never learned to be an owner, never wanted to let go of the shop and move into ownership, right? And to this day, I don't know who it is, right? But you don't. Who it is.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea who it is either. It doesn't really matter. But the problem, though, is that scenario happens all the time. And here's the thing. Like, if you hire somebody that can also moonlight as an instructor for CTI, you're obviously hiring them in for a specific purpose. Does that make sense? Like, you're hiring them in so you, as the owner, don't have to meddle with why that car's misfiring. I don't want to deal with it. I don't care why the car's misfiring. Just find out what's wrong with it. Let me know how much it's going to be. Yada, yada, yada. That's it.
That was understood from the beginning. Basically, my end goal was to teach part-time and to diagnose cars. Ultimately, I did not want to hang parts anymore. Now, there was the understanding that I would do that for a while. At some point, yes, I was told that it would move into a foreman position, and the fact that I was teaching means that I could do some internal classes and stuff like that as well.
Okay.
So, and that was, and again, we hadn't got there or whatever, but But yeah, so it literally came out, and it's like, you can test that with your meter. And I was like, well, the meter, your Fluke 88 or a Fluke 88 is going to capture 4 samples a second. It's averaging. Now, can you put it in high res mode and do some other things? Sure. However, my scope is catching millions of samples a second.
Yeah.
And I can have a capture where I could never get this TPS sensor to glitch, yet I captured it on a scope. I would have never gotten that on a meter.
Yeah. For sure.
Like it's just if I would have, how long would that have taken?
Right. And the basics, right? Like, doing a basic voltage test on a sensor, right? I have no problem with that. If I've got a constant fault, right, I can run out and do a test with a voltmeter. That's fine. If I'm trying to catch something very, very precise or something that's intermittent, that'd be stupid. That's how you waste time, right?
And now keep in mind, it's not like, oh, I'm going to get the scope out. So I go over and open up a drawer cabinet and pull out the scope. No. I had a diagnostic cart. So it was set up, fully ready to go with a laptop that's already up and ready every morning. Yeah. So it's literally leads right off the back. I grab them, plug it in, and that's it. Hit go. It's not. So yeah, difference in opinion of how we do things. Now, and that's all makes all models that I went into. And that was also an understanding that there's going to be a steep learning curve for me because I don't know how all of this stuff works. There's going to be some differences. I'm going to have to do more research and stuff on some of these systems than what I was dealing with every day. And again, all of this was talked about. All of this was, this was all up front. So.
So let's move forward, right? Because I think the rest of the story is important and where we're going now, right? Because I think the rest of it's just as important. So you work for CTI, you've been training, and we've been having some talks about, hey, I want to begin to prepare something different. Tell us what that is and tell us why you want to do that.
So, I've had dreams of doing mobile for years. And with the fact that my wife has been... That's just
we know, face, bro.
I know. So no, I've had dreams of this for a while, and it's something I was never willing to do for several reasons. One, I'm the only person working. I'm supporting a wife and 4 kids, and everything that goes along with that. So that's a big thing to take on without knowing, what's going to happen next. I also have a lot of more investment in tooling and stuff that I did not have. And it wasn't, no matter how much I wanted that, it wasn't worth the risk. And honestly, I had not been making enough money to put aside to build some of that up in the meantime. So it wasn't very feasible in the past. CTI's kind of offered me that opportunity to have some money saved up and to do some things like this. And so it's kind of twofold. I don't have intention on not teaching. It's not really, I still want to teach, but I think even not being a shop since the beginning of the year, has already shown me that you can get rusty real quick.
Yeah, and some of that practical knowledge and some of that experience, right?
Right. So, and I went out and messed with my own cars just to kind of touch on some things. Anybody that's ever reached out for help, I'll do anything I can to go out of my way to try to help you diagnose it remotely, basically. Yesterday I actually went down and it was... just helped a friend of mine with a couple of cars he had, just so, again, I could put some hands on.
Yeah.
And so I think it's twofold. One, I really do enjoy diagnostics. Like, I know European diagnostics, that's probably a little something off, and I get that, but, with me, but, that's what I enjoy. I enjoy the stuff that other people can't fix or haven't figured out. And it's not that I'm, it's, again, and I try to make sure everybody knows this. It's not that I'm any better than anybody else. It's, I'll stick with it. And I do. I enjoy it, which changes the game a little bit, I believe. So it's twofold. It's one, it gives me the opportunity to finally do only what I really wanted to do. And also, it's another stream of revenue when I'm not teaching. And it's not like I'm gone every week. So, it'll be a supplement to it. It'll make it more relevant for the classes that I'm doing. And who knows? I don't
case studies,
right. And I don't know what the future holds for anything or anybody. So, it's nice to have something to fall back on if something were to fall through. But I enjoy the teaching, so I don't foresee that changing.
So the first thing that we discussed, right? You came to me and you said, hey, I want to do this the right way. And by no means am I necessarily an expert on the subject, right? But we started talking about just the basics of starting a business, right? And so, David, I want to hear your thoughts on it. Like, where would you tell somebody to start? You know, the first thing that Scott and I talked about was a business plan, right? Yeah, I know. David's like, why would you ever start a business? Go get a job. Poor Dave.
Because I can't get a job around here where I can go in part of the time, be paid what I'm worth, and do only what I want to do when I'm home.
David does that now, and he wonders why his business isn't working. So I don't know what to tell you. I realize I've given you bad advice then, because now, like, I realize that you don't know what a business is. Sorry, buddy. I hate it. So really, the first thing we talked about was a business plan, a strategy, right? And we've talked a little bit about where to start as far as building that. What are we rough expenses? What are we going to be looking at? What would income have to be, right, to at least break even? Where do we start as far as numbers go, so we can at least have an idea of what we need to charge? David, what are your thoughts? Where would you start? If you were starting from scratch with a mobile business, what's step number one for you?
Not where you would. Not where you would, because we know you wouldn't. Take yourself out of it.
And what? And this is
not everybody's you.
Yeah.
Other people like other things. They want to do other things. They have dreams and aspirations besides
David
YouTube.
does not accept that narrative, okay? Everybody David Roman and David Roman's
what's wrong
eyes.
with YouTubing everything you're doing? That's a good idea.
Nothing. I love YouTube.
Well, there you go. Well, then
I love YouTube.
YouTube all your diagnostic work.
There you go. Maybe we'll do that as well.
There.
But I still have to be able to do it.
Yeah, I guess you could. I don't know. Like, I wrote a business plan when I opened up my business, and it was worthless. So, not
what aspect
the hell was
of
the
it was
point of
worthless
that? All of it, every stinking point of it. You know how many like how to start a business books I read before opening my business? Piles of them. You know how much they helped? They didn't. Not a one. It was terrible.
What's the worst advice you got from the business books?
Write
a business plan. That was probably number one. The stupidest thing. Like, hey, anytime anybody wants to start a business, the only thing that matters is how are you going to get customers. That's it.
I agree. Yeah.
Step one, how are you going to get customers? I know exactly how I'm going to get customers. I'm going to do A, B, and C. Okay. And if they have a track record where they've already been doing that in some capacity and it's been working and they're just going to scale it or they're going to do it for themselves or whatever, then yeah, go nuts. Go open that business. Go kill it. But if you're like, I don't know where I'm going to get customers, but I got this product and I'm going to sell it to who? Who are you going to sell it to? I'm sure they'll show up. No, they will not. They will not show up.
Years ago, there was a Gary Vee video, and he was talking to this lady on the sidewalk in New York, and she's like, I make coffee cups and I sell coffee cups, or maybe it was a guy, I can't remember what the deal was. And he's like, look, it doesn't make a fuck if nobody wants your fucking product, right? Like you can be the best at making fucking coffee cups, but if nobody buys your fucking coffee cup because they don't like it, it doesn't have any value.
Earmuffs, kids. Earmuffs. What are you doing? Dropping F-bombs. You just got to be
monetized on
Gary
Vee, so
you can't quote Gary Vee. I mean, Gary Vee is as much earmuffs as you get, buddy.
Earmuffs, kids.
So look, I think as a business plan, not so much.
No. Well, hold on. Now that doesn't apply here because we have that is a product that people do need and will want in some capacity. Mobile diagnostics. That absolutely. That still doesn't answer the question of how are you, Scott Hicks, going to get customers? That doesn't answer that question. How many shops do you have to show up to with a business card and hand them a business card? How many times do you have to show up to those, however many shops? How much time is it going between you showing up, however many times, and then you getting your first sale, and then how quickly from you getting that first sale to scaling up to sustainability can you get to that? That's all stuff that you need to figure out before And should that be a quote unquote business plan? Yeah, but there's a lot of fluff in business plans that are just completely.
Yeah, well, that's basically
useless.
the business plan that we're talking about.
That is a marketing
We're not
plan. That is a marketing plan.
It's a marketing plan and it's a financial plan to at least have some idea of his finances, right? To know what he's got to be.
A budget is budget is critical. But here's the thing with the budgeting thing. If you haven't been in business at all, or even if you've been in business for a year or two, you open up a shop and you've only been in business for a little while, you have no idea the expenses that are gonna hit you. Does it help if you have friends in the industry and you have been in the industry and you can reach out to a Lucas Underwood and go, hey, can I look at your P&L? Can I look at your P&L? Hey, you can block the numbers out, but I just want to see your list of expenses.
Right.
And if they go, yeah, here's a P&L, you can see the whole thing, and you can then see this line item, because there are piles of expenses that you never having been in business have any idea. And even if you go to, my buddy's been running a shop for 3 years, I can look at their P&L, and they don't have a P&L. That's one thing, right? Or even if they do have a P&L, like they're not carrying enough insurance. You don't know that. They don't know that. So now you're screwed. You're both screwed because you're going to go out there thinking, oh, I'm going to spend whatever, $1,000 a month on insurance. And you should be carrying $2,000 a month insurance. Well, what then? Who's going to tell you then? So now you just wrote out all your budget. It's wrong. It's wrong. So I mean, I don't know. It turns into, what are my household expenses? I think you can set that in stone.
Yeah.
I'm going to need $6,000 a month to pay my mortgage, pay food, pay for the kids' stuff, pay for my insurances, utilities, whatever, right? Whatever that dollar amount happens to be. And then rather than look at what are my expenses, I would be more apt to look at how much work can I accomplish with me doing all the work.
Okay.
And then what's a conceivable dollar amount I can charge for that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if the dollar amount is not sufficient, then okay, how can I supplement or how can I scale? In other words, if I have 3 of me's, what can I then charge and how fast can I get to whatever that dollar amount happens to be? Okay. And then if you look at it and go, well, I can diagnose 3 cars per day and I'm going to spend 3 hours per car. Okay, for me to make that work, if I were at the shop, then I would be making whatever, $50 an hour pre-tax. Well, I can charge, conceivably, they'll pay me $300 per car. So I can double that dollar amount. And that essentially ends up eating up my expenses. So then that sets my budget. So now I can start charging $100 per hour per car, and I can make $900 a day. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you then go to the market and they're like, we're not paying you that. We're going to pay you half that or 3/4 of that. Or you find out that you're charging half. Now you can start adjusting. But if that $900 a day isn't enough, then you're like, okay, well, if I can get 3 of me to do this, now I can start charging $2,700 a day, paying them $50 an hour and keeping the other $50.
The fear.
Did we just talk about paying the tech 50% of the door rate
in a mobile business?
Yeah,
probably.
I'm just throwing that out there because I remember. There might have been something about that lately. I don't know.
I know a lot of
ludicrous, but you know.
And the only fear that I would have with approaching it that way is like fixed expenses, the things that we know. Mm-hmm. If there is going to be, a big subscription, right? Let's say that you want all the OE subscriptions. Well, how much money is that?
A lot.
And what is, roughly how much insurance am I going to have? Right? The next thing that we talked about was really how to set the business up as far as S Corp or corporation. And my advice is talk to a decent tax accountant and a decent attorney that's experienced with setting businesses up. David, what would you say as far as, does he make it an LLC?
DBA it. Go DBA it. Who cares? Go register with the state for $100 and then go open a bank account. Done. It's passed through anyway. You just go write it on miscellaneous income on your taxes. Now, if you actually start making real money, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna pull in $250,000 this year, me, myself, and then my truck and some equipment in the back and a few subscriptions.
In other words, if you're going to turn it into an actual business.
Okay.
I mean, I think you set out intending on turning it into an actual business, but I'm saying if the market dictates that you are now a business because they are dumping money in your lap, now it's a conversation. Now it's like, whoa, let's step back. Let's register the LLC. Let's get an EIN. Let's start looking at different ways of setting up the business to optimize tax savings.
Liability-wise, does he not face liabilities by doing that now? In other words, he goes into a shop and something happens, and they come after him. They sue his insurance company, but if he does it as a DBA, are his personal assets up for grabs?
I think your personal assets are up for grabs regardless of whether you carry LLC
unless you're an LLC.
No, even if you are an LLC, I think your personal assets can still be
my understanding is not if you don't pierce the corporate veil. If you're a corporation, S corp, or an LLC, they can't.
I know. I've looked it up for North Carolina. It depends.
Yeah,
again, I'm
state for state, but I'm saying a good enough attorney is going to come after you regardless. Yeah. If your actions are egregious enough that it surpasses small claims court and starts getting into the millions, trust me, somebody is going to come after you, regardless of whether you've got, hey, I've got an LLC. Look at this piece of paper. It says you can't sue me personally. No, they're coming after you. And so, yeah, I mean, do you want to have additional layers of protection? Yeah, like, should a trust own the LLC? Probably. Should you also carry personal liability insurance and umbrella coverage on yourself of $2 million plus? Maybe. It just depends on how many businesses and how much junk you got floating around out there that you could be absolutely sued for. But just having an LLC is going to protect you? Hell no.
Well, I think my concern is a DBA going to be insurable as garage keepers and as liability from that aspect? In other words, if I'm going mobile, I'm going to want garage keepers of some sort, right? Because it's not just for the physical presence or physical location, right? Garage keepers means that I am covering the product or the vehicle of someone else. So I'm in care, custody, and control of someone else. But
if you're making $1,000 a month, do you think any of this matters? $1,000 a month.
If you're only doing $1,000 a month, right? Then it's not viable, I don't think.
No. What are you going to pay $1,000 a month in insurance just to make the $1,000? Like, it's not going to work. I'm just saying, are you going to worry about all this garbage?
Hanging out completely unprotected? You go into a shop and you do a fuel pressure test?
If you're getting 20 calls a week and you're showing up for 20 appointments, okay, now I've got to do something here because every single appointment is a deal. Like, every single appointment is a point of liability. But if I'm getting an appointment a month or 2 appointments a month, or I'm going a week or week and a half without a phone call, you don't have your marketing right. You're not getting yourself out there enough. Like, what difference does it make?
Well, I mean, it makes a difference if the first car you touch, you create a fuel leak.
Then you're entirely incompetent. You shouldn't have been doing any of it.
But I mean, I'm just saying, right? Like,
you burn the first car down? Like, is that really?
No. Look, I know some technicians who have really bad luck. What they would do is they would burn the car down, which was sitting next to a garage, which had $1 million worth of cars in it, and it would burn all of that down, and then the building would fall over.
Yeah. The other thing too is if, like, what are they going to take from me personally? That's the other question you have to ask. If you're sitting on $3 million in a retirement account, you've got $250,000 in another cash account, and you live in a $500,000 house, and your family is worth millions upon millions of dollars, and they've got property, and now, if all of that is up for grabs too, now we have a conversation with, like, I'm going to be more protected trying to get my business going. Me personally, what are they going to come after? My 2017 minivan? Like, seriously, what are they going to take? They can't. And in Kansas, they can't take my house. That's it. So nobody can take your house at any point for any reason. Period. Because in Kansas, that we have a law that says it. Other than that, everything else is up for grabs. But what is it that you're going to take? And I don't have nice things.
I'm concerned that you know about this law. It seems like you
Kansas, the Homestead Act. Yeah, well, it's a thing in Kansas. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that
make sure you're safe.
All I'm saying is, you need to be cognizant of that as when you go into the situation, because if like what do you have to lose? Nothing. Okay, then just go do it. Go do the work. I think too many people, like they mull over this garbage. Like, well, what about this and what about that? And I gotta have a business plan. I gotta have this, or just go see if the market says that what you have to offer is a good thing. The market will tell you. Like if you are terrible at marketing and you can't get enough customers, then that should tell you that you shouldn't be in business for yourself. You should go get a job or go buy a franchise that does the marketing for you.
I love your passion. I do. I love your passion.
I could see the logic in that, right? I could see some of the logic in that. I think, though, that a lot of people are doing it and just like holding on, right? They're trying to fight through it to make it work when they probably shouldn't be, right? They're continuing to push when they're not making money.
Some of us are deep in debt and don't have a choice.
Do you think that there's... You look so sad, David. You did the pouty lip.
It's crushing me every day. I just the minute that debt says 0, I'm burning it to the ground. I'm putting it out into the street in a big bonfire. I don't care if I have to pay any fines. I'll save up for the fines, and I'm just gonna light it all on fire. And I'm gonna be like, F you, you're cool. F you, I'm out.
Griswold style, got it.
What kind of revenue do you think if Scott goes and does this?
I thought he's already doing it.
Are you already doing it? Have you gone to the next? Because here's the thing.
No,
he said since the. So you've just been teaching for the last 9 months?
I'm teaching. I mean, I'm not saying I haven't collected some tools. I'm not going to say I haven't come up with a name. I'm not saying I haven't come up with a logo. I'm not. I mean, things are happening, but it's not. I mean, am I out there passing a business card saying, "Hey, I'll come diagnose your"? No.
My first thought is that Scott's pretty well known in the community, and he's known as a CTI instructor, and he's in all of the groups and everything else. So I think Scott's smart enough to utilize those networks that he has and those connections that he has now. So I think that Scott is pretty quickly going to be working in a commercial setting where he's going to be working for other commercial shops or professional businesses doing a substantial amount of work if he does this, right? One of my
based
fears
on what?
is
just his knowledge, like just his name recognition.
Just the fact that a lot of people in the community, because we're both in North Carolina, a lot of people know Scott, right? And so he's got connections in shops where he knows them. He's been networking with their techs. We all know everybody. It's North Carolina. We're from the South, bro. Okay,
dude.
We're not doing this
know
Kansas
of
thing where we hate each other, right?
I know of like mobile guys in North Carolina that are like, I'm not going to make it on just the mobile diag stuff alone. And
let me be clear. If I'm going to turn this into a full blown, this is what I do full time, there's absolutely no way it's going to be diagnostics only. Absolutely not. That's ludicrous.
Diagnostics in what? Programming, or you can be doing
programming,
brakes?
ADOS?
That's all like, it's all the soft skill stuff. Like, you're not hanging brakes, right? You're not going to be doing oil changes on my Audi?
Hell no.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, is you're not going to be doing full-blown mobile, like you're swapping water pumps out on the Ford. Okay.
He's going to be the guy in the parking lot hitting calibrate on the scan tool, pushing the car back and forth until it says pass.
Yeah. That's
just you're putting cardboard on the windshield. Just put cardboard on the windshield, it'll be fine. All I'm saying is that just because you think that that's what's going to end up happening, I'm just telling you, like, reach out to like a Keith Perkins, right? And the question is, like, how many customers and how fast, and then how did you do it? And if the answer, and I'm not saying this is what Keith would say, but I'm saying if the answer that you get back is, I just passed around my business card and I got all these calls. It's like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Move on to the next person.
You got lucky.
Ask them. I'm not saying that person, and again, this isn't Keith, but I'm just telling you right now, like one of one of my biggest struggles when I opened was getting enough customers in the door. I was not in a visible location. I was a business that I started from scratch, and I didn't have a large network of family and friends that I could just tap into. None of those things were working for me. And somehow I got the cockamamie idea of opening up a business. It was a terrible idea. I shouldn't have done it. But I'm like, I'll figure this out. It'll be fine. And so I opened up this business, and I'm just not getting enough customers in the door. And I thought I was doing all the things, and I'm posting on social media, and I'm passing around business cards, and I'm doing all the things that I think I'm supposed to be doing. And I would walk up to shop after shop. Now, I'm going to these consultation classes. I'm flying across the flipping country to sit in these classes that I can't afford. I can't afford the consultation company. I can't afford the classes. I can't afford the trip. I can't afford any of it. I go all the way out there, and hey, how much? I do $1.3 million. That's awesome, man. How are you getting customers? Oh, man, I just turned on my open sign. All these customers come flooding in. Hey, you've only been in business for a year? How did you get so many customers? How were you able to scale up? And I just opened up my open sign, and they just started coming in. Oh, I started passing around my business card, and all of a sudden I started getting these calls. Or it was that, or, man, I've been in business for 60 years. Well, that doesn't help me. I've been in business for 3. I don't have a network. And I turned on my open sign, and I even posted it on social media, and no one is calling. No one is showing up. I can barely pay my bills. Like, what am I doing wrong here? I'm just telling you right now that happens more often than not. And some people hustle. The frustration is that nobody can articulate it. Like, in my guesstimation, Keith's a hustler. Like, he's articulate, sure. He's well-spoken, he's supremely confident, and he just went out and got enough in front of enough people with enough confidence to, hey, use me. Hey, use me. And he just kept badgering them until, we're going to start using them. And he knew that I need to make 45 sales calls a day. That eventually, if I make 45 sales calls a day for 3 months straight, I'm going to get enough customers calling me that I can then start leveraging that into Google ads and yada, yada, yada. He was systematic about it. That'd be my guess. I have no idea. But that's what you're looking for. You need that game plan. You need that step by step. You need 45 sales calls a day for 3 weeks straight. And then whatever money comes in, I then leverage into Google ads. Okay, what do the Google ads need to say? Am I using smart ads, or am I using a PPC person? Who? Okay, what do the ads look like? What's the geofenced area? Like, what's my website going to look like? What's my call to action? Like, all of those things need to be mapped out, because you're stealing them off somebody else that's doing it right now in a similar market. If you don't have that, you have squat. To think that I've got this, hey, I've got an OE subscription to Volkswagen Audi software. I've got Otis, whatever the hell it's called. I'm going to be able to program Volkswagens. I'm going to get calls. No. You're not. Nobody's going to care. Nobody is going to care. And even if they did care, they're going to forget that you even exist. They're not going to remember, because you've not made enough sales calls. You need to go in 100 times before they call you once. That's why it's a bad idea. Let's think again.
Unless you're personable, which David, he didn't have that going for him. So, like, if you just have a little bit of personality, this gets a lot easier.
So, having a personality is great. But I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, the first misdiagnosed car, how are you going to deal with that? You just sullied your name. That guy's a CTI instructor and you can't diagnose his car. You have got to have overwhelming charisma to overcome that. That, hey, I'm not going to go online and trash you because, you're a nice guy and I really like Scott. He's a nice guy, and you know what? Maybe he was having a bad day. You get the benefit of the doubt because you're just that charismatic. If you don't have that,
Scott, maybe you shouldn't go into business research.
I'm saying I have no idea. I don't know Scott from anybody else. I'm saying if you don't have that overwhelming level of charisma, your first misdiagnosed car is going to sink you. It's going to bury you because that shop's going to blast you to everybody, and then all of a sudden you're not going to have any customers. So just be aware of that.
I'm aware. I am. I've been, like I said, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. There's a lot of things that I'm very aware of that have to be right, and that's why I'm fortunate in a position where it doesn't have to be right now, sink or swim. So I don't have to make bad judgment calls immediately because I have to make a decision.
And I'm not trying to give you career advice or like poo-poo on your ideas or whatever, but I'm just curious for me. Why not go talk to like a diagnostician, or is it diagnostician? Who are those really nice guys that we talked to at ITTC?
Yeah.
Was it them? Okay.
Yeah, Gary Smith and Adam Robertson and Craig Shippey and
maybe not them. Maybe you hate them. I don't know. I'm saying like, why not go talk to the diagnostician like service companies? There's like 1,000 of them.
Like
go look for one. What's that?
Like tech line companies?
Yeah, tech line companies, and say, hey, what I've got is supremely valuable. I've got, I can be a good Volkswagen, Audi, Land Rover, Euro guy, and look at all these years of experience, plus I'm teaching for CTI. Like, why not utilize me and go reach out to them, and you see what I'm saying, and go work for them and CTI, and now you've got two streams of income. It's better than, hey, I have to figure out a way to get customers, because it is so hard. I'm just telling you right now, it is so hard. Unless you have a giant red barn that you can just tell people, hey, I'm the red barn next to this super popular business. Come see me for your auto repair. And everybody's like, yeah, I know the red barn next to the really popular roadside attraction. Everybody knows. That's all you have to say. And flipping customers just pile into your shop. And hey, I've got a bigger barn. More people can show up. And then just more people show up. If that's all you have to do, then yes. Go do your own business thing. If you can't do that, though, if you're just like some no-name, one of 8,000 other shops that are going to be offering the same service, then no, maybe you should take a step back and go, maybe I should reconsider this.
I'm glad I'm not trying to open a shop.
You are just mobile version that does less work than I do. Hey, can you fix my water pump? No. Oh, okay, thanks.
No,
why am I calling you? Click.
No,
I offer more services. It should be easier for me. It's not. It's awful.
I don't want individuals. I want shops.
Shops are the worst customers ever.
No,
shops are awful.
I get that.
You want to get a scope of what you have to deal with? Go talk to the ARS loaner people. Shoploaner.com. Go the sweet people that charge $29 a month. And these shop owners are like, this is too expensive. What are you talking about? You have loaners. This will do all the work for you. This will remove your liability. And you can charge. What are you talking? $29 and it's too much? These shop owners are delusional. They're delusional. You want to know? Yeah, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure you understand this. I just want to. The same people. The same group of people that you say are unwilling to pay technicians appropriately are all of a sudden going to want to pay you lots of money to diagnose that car that technician Timmy couldn't figure out. They've already thrown the module at it and all the sensors, and they put an engine in there and all swapped in the transmission, and they had the programmer come out and they hit the buttons because they got RAP. And the RAP couldn't fix it, and they already called Identifix, and they already called the other tech line that was supposed to be able to help them, and that car is not diagnosed, so they call you. And you think that guy's going to want to pay you $3 an hour to fix that car. Hell no. Especially when you find out it was, hey, you have a loose ground. I found it in 5 minutes because all of these modules connect to this one module, and this one module wasn't coming online. So I went to that one, checked for power and ground, did a voltage drop, and in 5 minutes I was able to find that loose ground. Pay me $300. That guy's going to go get bent. Here's $10 and a gift card to Subway.
Oh, man.
He thinks I'm joking. That's what's going to happen.
That's what David
Matt, where's Matt Skundrich? Hell no. I'd pay you the $300 happily. Where's Matt Skundrich? He knows I'm right. I'm right.
You know what Matt said?
What's that?
He said, I said, you got any advice for somebody who wants to start mobile? He said, you still going to be teaching? He said, you still going to be teaching? I said, yeah. He said, pick one. Can't do both. Pick one.
Matt, Matt, I think that's my biggest fear for
Don't ask him whether you should do it, because he's going to give you sourpuss advice. I'm saying that
I get it.
The war stories he has are plentiful, and they ring true because they happen to everybody. It's not just his area. It's not just him. It is shop owners are awful. Almost all of them.
I
not the ones that listen to this podcast. They're great. Every single one of them.
Sounds like there's a lot of personal experience in there. That's all I'm saying.
That's it. I really do worry, however, about you trying to do both. Is because one of the things that these shop owners, if they've become dependent on you, are going to say is, I need you to be reliable. I need you to be here when I call you. I need you now, right? Like, not next week, not when you land. We need you to be here now. And so that's one of the things that I just don't get. We hear a lot of technicians talk about starting their own shop because they want freedom. Let me tell you something. Owning a business is not freedom, okay? It is not freedom. It is not that I'm going to go and I'm going to work when I feel like working, and I'm going to make all this money, and I'm going to do all these things, and I'm not going to be stressed out because, I don't have this boss yelling at me. No. It's waking up at 3 a.m. saying, oh my God, am I going to be able to pay the bills? Oh my God, I hope I did that task that I told that client I was going to do. Oh my gosh, I'm so busy I didn't answer the emails. And look, the problems get better and better, unless you're David. And
the problems get more expensive. That's all it is.
That's true.
All of a sudden, that $1,000 tax bill turns into $10,000. And you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah, they just revalued the property the shop sits on.
The property tax got an extra zero.
Yeah, that. Anyway, I think it's a misnomer. I don't think that folks truly understand how much work actually has to go into this. And then a lot of times, and for the first few years I was in business, I didn't really put too much to it. But the reality is that there was a lot of work behind the scenes that I wasn't doing. And so I came into the business and things weren't going the way I wanted them to go. And so when I learned what was wrong in the business, I realized that I was working a 40-hour week as a technician and a service advisor, and I really need to work an extra 40 hours a week to make up for the business owner stuff I hadn't been doing. And so I think it can be really, really overlooked very easily how much work goes into owning a business, and that doesn't matter if it's mobile or not. So I think that's some great advice Matt gave you. You are going to have to pick one if you're really going to grow this thing and take this to the next level to where it's actually generating income. You probably are going to have to do one or the other. So I would agree with him there. I don't get, like, if I were in your position, I'd reach out to the tech line people and say, can you use me? I'd reach out to 50 of them. Reach out to all 50 and say who gives you the best. Is because he wants to work on cars. He wants to do the diag. He wants to be hands-on with cars. He wants to be right there with the car. That's what he wants to do. And I think that's what he misses. But you're doing that remotely with the tech line. It's not the same. Who really wants to, like, back probe that connector? Who wants to get underneath that dash? And no, you do not. First off, you've got back problems. You can't even get up under the dash, okay? So who wants to take that kick panel down, dig through 8,000 wires to find the one connector or whatever, then pierce the wire, but do it right, to crush the wire. I miss those days. I really do. Get out of here. You know what I want to do? Overcoming the insulation, just to clarify. It's not piercing the wire. I love it. That's awesome. That is awesome. I love that. I'm stealing that and running with it. I'm saying, who wants to do all that? You know what I want to do? I want to walk up, look at that capture, and go, here's that bad squiggle. It needs this. Or I think it needs this. What do you think? Yeah? Okay. And then walk away. That's what I like to do. I like to go out there, see what my technician is working on, maybe ask them probing questions, and, just to get the juices flowing. Then they tell me their story, their justification, and then I walk away and I'm like, that's cool. And then that's it. I don't want to help you diagnose it. I don't really care what the problem ends up being. I just like to see some of the process in there because it's cool to have all that equipment out there and have all the wires hooked up to it and all that garbage. But I don't want to do the hooking up or pull the car in or rack it or all that. No, that's awful. Just
I'm just telling you right
You're
now.
the worst example of this.
just getting the cart and opening up that laptop and finding out you're 2 updates behind on the flipping laptop. And then you gotta wait for the stupid thing. And you're waiting for the stupid thing. And then you got to get the cable out and you got to open the door and then roll the window down and snake the cable through. And you just pulled on the cable a little too hard. Now the laptop fell over. Now, no. All of that. Oh, now I got to get the charge cart out and wheel the thing over, make sure you got the thing on there. And is everything hooked up? Yeah, okay. Oh, now we're good to go. Let me go into the software. What's that stupid password again? Get out of here.
Look,
yeah, processes. You know what I want to do? I want to know, hey, what's the capture look like? You've already done all that. Hey, what's the error message on the JBox, like on the software? What's that? What's the error message? Okay, now let's figure out a game plan for you, person that has to actually work on the car, to then figure out what's going wrong. That's what I want to do.
The level of complexity telling someone else how to do something, and if you're talking to somebody that's good, that's one thing. But if you're talking to someone who can't follow instructions and has poor reading comprehension skills
but you meet them where they're at. No, you meet them where they're at. Can you do this? No. Have you ever done this? No. What about this? Yes, I can do that.
Hood? Maybe.
I would rather deal with that. Than to try to get that shop owner that just threw the 15th module on that car into the car and is now calling me and expect them to pay me the $300 when I tell them that, hey, that module's the wrong part number. Quit buying used modules. Or quit trying to buy the module off the internet. You need to put an OE module that you got from the dealer that's correct to the car into the car. Or, hey, what was that video that was shared into the group? The guy had programmed a BCM. The BCM was great. Turns out he needed to program the PCM, and they had written down the wrong module on the work order, and now he's getting blamed for it.
And
that's your life, Scott. That's what you're signing up for.
I've got my own opinions of that. Okay,
give me some of that. That sounds so much better than working at Diagnosing.
I mean, you got to wonder though. Like when you dig into that and you're starting to look at this vehicle, then something about it says, "Hey, this doesn't seem accurate. Maybe I should."
Yeah, but at the same time, though, you're looking at it from a scalability standpoint. They called you in to program a BCM. The work order says BCM. You hand them a receipt that says programmed BCM. Their processes are effed up. That's not your problem. Also, they're not paying you to diagnose the car. So now what are we talking about here? Are you going to diagnose it for free because you've got a problem?
I'm just saying I might ask questions. I might ask questions is all I'm saying.
And you know what they're going to tell you? The same flippant attitude that Scott got from that sketchy green coolant owner, that same flippant, why are you doing that? Why are you asking me? You telling me we don't know what we're doing? We put this module in. Just program it. Oh, okay, Mr. Customer. Thank you for your $120 for programming this, whatever. You're going to charge them $250. And then when they call you, go, hey, guess what? It sounds like you need a different module or there's a different problem with the car. I can come out and diagnose it for you for $300 an hour. Oh, no. You screwed something up. The hell I did. I screenshotted everything to you and I handed it to you and you saw the receipt. I programmed the BCM. BCM's programmed successfully. I did my job. Now what? Now the guy's like on Google trashing you, or he's on the Facebook groups trashing you, talking about how much of a scumbag you are, this, that, and the other. You see what it now turns into a thing. Now what? Because they're incompetent.
David's a little risk averse to like the bad things.
Risk averse? I just told you to slap a DBA on the front of your car and go to business. What risk averse? Nothing.
That's not the risk I'm worried about. I'm worried about all the other risk you're talking about. Right? It's terrible.
What do we do that? What do we do? What do we do in our world, Lucas, when a situation like that comes up? What do? We eat it. I eat it. I eat it all day long. I eat the poo. The poo gets piled on top of whatever it is that I was like, oh, look at this nice Twinkie. I'm going to eat this Twinkie. Poo gets piled on top and I eat it. I go, well, what are you going to do? The poo's there. I got to do something. I eat the poo.
I still want the Twinkie.
I still want the Twinkie. Yeah, I still want the Twinkie. What it is I've already spent. I've already spent the Twinkie. Twinkie money's gone. The Twinkie's gone. The poo is now there. Like, I got to deal with this. And
David's problem is he ate the Twinkie first. Okay, the Twinkie's gone. So then he just ends up with several piles of poo that he's got to shovel in.
And now I just got to eat it. I got to eat it. Like, you just eat it. But if you're a mobile guy, your time is all you've got. Like, I have. Do we sell time? Yes, but it's leveraged, as in I've got multiple employees and then support staff behind it to then leverage those employees' time to then maximize what I can out of the shop. In an ideal world, I don't
couple in the parts profit with it, and it becomes a feasible.
It makes it feasible for you to eat situations like that where it's a he said, she said, and they don't know what they're doing. I did my job. They don't understand what I did, and they don't understand that they're incompetent. Okay, so either I'm going to die on this horse trying to show them that they're incompetent. I'm going to die on this hill, I should say. I'm going to die on this hill showing them that they're incompetent and deal with the ramifications, or I'm going to eat it. Well, it's harder for me to eat it when I don't have that leverage. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
Me too.
You're right.
Scott and Lucas is done. So there's some fire at the shop, and he's like, I got to go deal with this fire.
No, the fire's just fine. I'll let it burn.
You need to embrace the fire. The fire is what it is. You know what it does? It keeps me warm. It's the only fire I got.
David does this thing. He says, I just put on the dad voice, right? And he's like talking to a client. No, it's not our fault. There's oil on it.
That's not too dad. Do you talk to your kids like that?
Breathing really heavily. I'm like,
Scott, you said you have kids, right?
4.
Okay, so you know the dad voice. Hey, I'm no longer messing around. Get your shoes on. We're going out the door. You don't scream at them. You're not screaming. I don't scream. It's authoritative.
You do on here. You do on here.
That is David's dad voice, okay? That is David's dad voice.
So you do scream.
That's David's dad voice.
Trust me, if I'm screaming, I've lost it. But I don't. I don't.
Customers on the phone quivering,
I don't.
Right? Like they're afraid. They're really afraid dude's going to show up at their house.
No.
This is the one thing that broke the camel's back. The rubber band just snapped. He just finally had enough. They've been watching him for years slowly unravel into this pit of despair, and they know that eventually David's going to lose it. And so here we are, right?
Do I raise my voice if I have to raise my voice? Only because they're not listening or like they're in the other room or whatever. Do I scream? I don't scream. I raise my voice. But even then, there's no raising your voice. It is an assertive, authoritative, I'm not messing around voice. You sometimes have to put your dad voice because people are irrational. They're irrational and they're ranting, raving, going, you're like, listen, this is how it is. And then that's it. That's it. This conversation doesn't need to go further. I'm giving you all the information you need. Accept it, move on.
Yes, I know it's still dripping oil in your driveway. We washed it. We washed it really well. If it keeps happening, bring it back and we'll wash it again.
If your oil level goes down, there's a problem, bring it in. Until then, run it through the car wash. And I'm glad I have to repeat myself because this is the 3rd time I've told you this. I just didn't know it was going to smoke that much. I told you it was going to smoke. Do you know why that happened, Scott? Because my technician can't read a parts list on an invoice. We hand him a work order, and the work order says, new connectors. You know what the technician does? Ignores that. Ignores looking at the repair order. Ignores the new connector sitting next to the line. Ignores that too. And he says, I guess I'm reusing everything. Clip, clip, clip. Pop. Then now what? Oil everywhere. And he goes, I need a connector. You mean the one on your part shelf? Read the work order.
That's yelling.
Yeah, see, that's yelling. And I do now. Does that turn into yelling in the shop? Yes, it's me screaming, "Read the work order" at the technician, and then the technician gets all butthurt, and then they're pouty and angry the rest of the day, and they don't want to do that oil change. You know what I can tell you as definitive advice? Don't get employees unless they're Mexican, born in Mexico. None of these U.S. born ones. Forget that. You need them born in Mexico. You need true bloods. None of these mudbloods. You need true bloods. You need them born in Mexico. You need them born in Mexico.
Him, not me.
They need them born in Mexico. They come over to this country, and then those guys.
He can say that though, right?
Because hire them.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not. Yeah. No, I'm not Mexican in any way, shape, or form.
He has tonal privilege.
Right. Yeah.
I do have tonal privilege. Yes, but that's supposed to be a bad thing, you dingus. That's a bad thing to have tonal privilege. You're not supposed to have tonal privilege. I have tonal privilege. Then, all I'm saying is them. You can hire them. Everybody else, no. They can screw off. Employees are the worst. The worst. Did we get everything hashed out?
I think so.
Okay, good.
Are you? Do you feel complete? Do you feel whole right now? Well, you definitely feel whole. Sorry, bad choice of words. I apologize. That's. So I will say, I don't know, Lucas, I don't know if you know this or not, but when I threw out my shoulder at one point and stopped working on cars for about 4 or 5 years, and I was a service advisor and then service manager for a little while. So, funny story real quick is this lady was screaming in the middle of the service drive, and to the point where it was interrupting the conversation I was having with my customer. And I looked over at her, and she's like, "What?" And I said, "Ma'am, you need to calm down."
That's right.
So, you can imagine how well that went over in a 3-lane wide service drive with 12 advisors and 20 customers. Yeah, it was...
Did you have to evict her?
Oh, no, she eventually... somebody did come out, actually. Yeah, I think the service manager finally came out and was like, "All right, we need to go outside." But then he asked me, he said, "Did you really tell her to calm down?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "So I found that doesn't work too well." I said, "Yeah, me too." So lesson learned.